The rain-slicked streets of Seattle gleamed under the sodium lamps as Hannah gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles whitening against the worn leather. She had sworn off group trips after last summer's disaster. But Sarah's voice on the phone, light and insistent, had cracked her resolve like thunder through fog. Now, with the wipers slapping rhythmically, she wondered if the ache in her chest was from the cold draft sneaking through the vent or something far more treacherous. Sarah shifted in the passenger seat, her knee brushing Hannah's thigh as she reached for the thermos of coffee wedged between them. The touch lingered a beat too long, electric and unacknowledged, before Sarah pulled back with a casual laugh that echoed hollow in the confined space. Hannah's pulse hammered, a betrayal she shoved down deep, reminding herself for the 100th time that Sarah was just a friend. The kind who collected strays and dreamed in watercolors. Not the kind who unraveled straight-laced teachers like her. By dawn, they had crossed into Oregon, the coastal highway unfurling like a ribbon of salt-kissed asphalt. The other two cars in their ragtag caravan trailed behind, filled with mutual friends from college reunions Hannah barely remembered. She glanced in the rearview, catching Sienna's Jeep where Sarah's sister rode shotgun, oblivious to the storm brewing in Hannah's rearview thoughts. Why had she agreed to this camping odyssey again? Freedom, Sarah had said. Escape from the grind of lesson plans and parent-teacher conferences. But as the Pacific crashed against jagged cliffs, Hannah felt anything but free, her mind replaying the way Sarah's fingers had grazed her arm during packing, a spark she dared not name. They stopped at a roadside diner in Astoria, the kind with checkered floors and pie under glass domes that fogged with every breath. The group piled in, voices overlapping in a cacophony of inside jokes and travel plans. But Hannah hung back, nursing black coffee at the counter. Sarah slid onto the stool beside her, close enough that the scent of her citrus shampoo mingled with the greasy air. "You okay?" she murmured, her elbow nudging Hannah's in that familiar, teasing way. Hannah forced a smile, the kind that hid textbooks and unspoken rules. "Just tired. Long drive ahead." Sarah's eyes, green as sea glass, searched hers a moment too intently, and Hannah looked away, focusing on the swirl of cream in her cup. She had always been the steady one, the girl who dated boys in high school because that's what you did in small-town Ohio. The woman who built a life around metaphors and sonnets, denying the pull toward something softer, more fluid. Sarah, though. Sarah was chaos wrapped in kindness. A graphic designer who sketched protests and sunsets with equal fervor, who had kissed boys and girls in equal measure without apology. Hannah envied that ease, even as it terrified her. As they piled back into the cars, the sky cracked open, dumping sheets of rain that turned the highway into a river. Sarah cranked the radio, belting out an old indie tune about lost highways and second chances, her voice raw and alive. Hannah joined in half-heartedly, her throat tight with the weight of what-ifs. What if she leaned over right now? What if she let her hand find Sarah's on the gearshift? But the thought dissolved like mist, chased by the mantra she clung to. Straight. Safe. Simple. Hours blurred into the afternoon, the convoy snaking south toward the redwoods. They detoured through a fern-choked trail in the Siuslaw National Forest, boots squelching in mud as laughter rang out. Hannah lagged behind, watching Sarah ahead, her flannel shirt clinging damply to her shoulders, blonde hair plastered in defiant curls. When Sarah turned, extending a hand to pull her over a fallen log, their palms met, warm and sure, and for a heartbeat, the world narrowed to that point of contact. "Thanks," Hannah whispered, releasing too quickly, her skin buzzing like a live wire. That night, they camped rough in a clearing off Highway 101, tents popping up like mushrooms after rain. The group gathered around a sputtering fire, passing a bottle of bourbon and stories of exes and escapades. Hannah sat cross-legged on a log, her jeans stiff with dried mud, nursing the burn in her throat to drown the one in her gut. Sarah plopped down beside her, thigh pressing against thigh, and draped an arm over her shoulders in mock possession. "To new beginnings," she toasted, clinking her plastic cup against Hannah's. Hannah's laugh came out strained, her body hyper-aware of the heat radiating from Sarah's side. New beginnings. The words tasted like ash. She had told herself this trip was about reclaiming space after her last breakup with Mark, the safe accountant who had proposed with a ring too tight on her finger. But as Sarah's fingers idly traced patterns on her sleeve, Hannah's resolve frayed at the edges. She excused herself early, crawling into her tent with the zipper echoing like a finality. Lying on her sleeping bag, the nylon walls glowed orange from the fire outside, shadows dancing like accusations. She could hear Sarah's voice weaving through the night, low and melodic, drawing the others into her orbit. Hannah pressed her palms to her eyes, willing sleep to come, but her mind conjured images unbidden. Sarah's smile in the diner light, the curve of her neck as she laughed, the way her eyes softened when they locked on Hannah's, holding secrets neither dared voice. A rustle outside snapped her alert. The tent flap rustled, and Sarah's head poked in, silhouetted against the stars. "Hey. You ghosting us already?" Her tone was light, but her eyes held a question. Hannah sat up, heart thudding. "Just decompressing." Sarah ducked inside, zipping the flap with a decisive tug, the space shrinking around them. The air thickened, charged with the scent of pine and smoke clinging to their clothes. Sarah settled on the edge of Hannah's sleeping bag, knees drawn up, her presence filling the tent like a held breath. "You've been quiet all day. Everything all right?" Hannah swallowed, the lie forming automatic. "Yeah. Just the rain getting to me." Sarah tilted her head, studying her with that artist's gaze that saw too much. "Or maybe it's the company." She said it softly, almost a challenge, and Hannah's breath caught. The silence stretched, heavy as the damp canvas above them. Sarah reached out, tucking a stray auburn lock behind Hannah's ear, her fingers lingering on the shell. Hannah froze, every nerve alight, the touch a spark to dry tinder. She started, voice barely above a whisper. Sarah's thumb brushed her cheek, gentle as a confession. "You don't have to say it." "Not yet." But Hannah did, in the way she leaned into the touch, eyes fluttering shut against the tide rising within. Sarah's hand cupped her jaw, tilting her face up, and their foreheads met, breaths mingling in the close air. The world outside faded, the fire crackling distant as a memory. When Sarah's lips brushed hers, tentative and seeking, Hannah sighed into it, a sound of surrender long denied. The kiss deepened slowly, like rain soaking parched earth, Sarah's mouth warm and insistent, tasting of bourbon and possibility. Hannah's hands found Sarah's waist, fingers curling into flannel, pulling her closer until their bodies aligned, hearts sinking in frantic rhythm. It was not fireworks but a quiet unraveling, threads of doubt loosening with each shared breath. They broke apart gasping, foreheads still pressed, eyes searching in the dim glow. Sarah's voice trembled, raw with wonder. "I've wanted this since that stupid poetry reading last fall." Hannah's laugh was watery, relief flooding her veins. "Me too. God. Me too." But even as she said it, doubt flickered, a shadow in the corner of her mind. Straight, she had claimed, to friends, to herself, a shield against the unknown. Sarah pulled back slightly, her hand tracing Hannah's collarbone through her shirt, sending shivers cascading. "We can take it slow. No labels tonight. Just us." Hannah nodded, throat tight, and drew her back down, their bodies entwining in the confines of the tent, clothes shedding like old skins. The night air cooled their heated skin, but the warmth between them built, layer by layer, until sleep claimed them wrapped in each other's arms. The forest whispering approval. Morning light filtered through the dew-heavy leaves, birdsong piercing the haze. Hannah woke first, Sarah's head pillowed on her chest, blonde hair splayed like sunlight. Panic edged in, sharp as thorns, but she pushed it down, tracing the freckles across Sarah's nose instead. This felt right, in the quiet before the world intruded. The group stirred outside, coffee brewing and tents folding with groans. Sarah stirred, smiling sleepily up at Hannah, her eyes soft with last night's echo. "Morning. Beautiful," she murmured, pressing a kiss to Hannah's jaw. Hannah's heart swelled, but as she unzipped the flap, the reality crashed in. Friends milling about, oblivious yet. But how long until questions arose? Until she had to explain what she could barely admit. They packed in companionable silence, stolen glances and brushed fingers speaking volumes. As they hit the road again, Sarah's hand found Hannah's on the console, lacing fingers with a squeeze that grounded her. The Oregon coast blurred past. Waves crashing like applause. But Hannah's mind churned. What now? The desire exposed in the tent was a crack in her armor. And she feared the flood it might unleash. By midday, they veered inland toward Crater Lake. The air turning crisp with elevation. The group hiked the rim trail. Wind whipping hair and words alike. Sarah walked beside Hannah. Their pace sinking naturally. Her arm looping through Hannah's elbow as if it had always been so. The others teased lightly. Sienna calling them the dynamic duo. But Hannah flushed. Hyper-aware of every point of contact. At the overlooks, where the lake's blue depths mesmerized, Sarah pulled Hannah aside, backing her against a rough pine trunk. Her kiss was bolder here. Under open sky. Hands framing Hannah's face with possessive tenderness. You're thinking too much. Sarah whispered against her lips. Let it be. Hannah melted into her. The vastness below mirroring the expanse opening in her chest. For the first time, straight felt like a story someone else had written. But doubt lingered. A quiet undercurrent. That evening, as they circled the fire at a lakeside site, bourbon flowing freer, conversations turned personal. Mark had texted earlier. Innocuous check-in from their mutual circle. But it landed like a stone in still water. Hannah stared into the flames, Sarah's head on her shoulder, and wondered if she could rewrite her narrative without losing pages. Sarah sensed the shift, her fingers tightening on Hannah's knee. Talk to me later. She breathed, low enough for only them. Hannah nodded. But the seed of fear took root, twining with the joy. The tents went up under a canopy of stars. And as they slipped inside, the intimacy reignited, bodies mapping each other with reverent hands. Sarah's sighs filled the space. Soft pleas that drew Hannah deeper, erasing lines with every touch. Yet in the afterglow, lying tangled, Hannah's voice broke the quiet. What if I'm not? What if this is just the trip? Sarah propped on an elbow, eyes serious in the moonlight seeping through. Then we figure it out. Together. No rushing. Hannah wanted to believe her. Pulled her close again. But sleep came fitful. Dreams of unraveling threads. The next day dawned clear. The group descending to the lake's Wizard Island for a boat tour. Laughter echoed over water as they motored out. But Hannah felt adrift. Sarah's easy affection a lifeline she gripped too tightly. On the island, amid volcanic rocks and wildflowers, they wandered off path, finding a secluded cove. Sarah spread her jacket on the ground, drawing Hannah down for lazy kisses that tasted of lake mist. I used to think I was broken, Hannah confessed, head in Sarah's lap as clouds scudded overhead. For wanting this. Sarah's fingers combed through her hair. Soothing. You're not broken. You're blooming. The words sank in, warm as sun on skin, and Hannah turned, capturing Sarah's mouth in a kiss fierce with gratitude. But the return ferry brought the group back. Realities colliding. Sienna pulled Sarah aside for sisterly whispers. And Hannah caught fragments. Careful with her. She's fragile. The words stung, though meant in care, and Hannah retreated into silence, driving the final stretch to California with radio static as company. Redwoods loomed as they entered Avenue of the Giants, ancient sentinels dwarfing their doubts. The campsite nestled in fern gullies, fireflies winking at dusk. Around the flames that night, stories flowed, but Hannah's contributions faltered, her gaze fixed on Sarah across the circle, desire warring with withdrawal. Later, in the tent, Sarah confronted it gently, body curled against Hannah's back. What's eating you? Hannah hesitated, then spilled, voice muffled in her pillow. The labels. The what-ifs. What if I can't do this? Sarah held her tighter, breath steady. Then you don't have to. But I'd like to see you try. With me. Their lovemaking that night was slower, exploratory. Sarah's hands charting paths of reassurance, lips murmuring affirmations against heated skin. Hannah arched into it, tears pricking as release came. Not just physical but a cracking open of guarded heart. In Sarah's arms after, she whispered, I think I want to try. Sarah's smile in the dark was a beacon. That's all I ask. The Humboldt Current carried whispers of change as they pressed south. The convoy threading through wine country toward Yosemite. Hannah drove with windows down, Sarah's playlist shuffling folk anthems that spoke of wandering souls and mended fences. Their hands stayed linked over the console. A quiet anchor amid the miles. Yet Hannah's mind wandered treacherous paths. Replaying Sienna's words. Questioning if fragility was fate or fear. They stopped in Napa for a vineyard tour. The group tasting cabernets under arbors heavy with grapes. Sun dappled through leaves as Sarah fed Hannah a chocolate-dipped berry. Thumb wiping juice from her lip with intimate care. The gesture drew raised brows from the others. Light ribbing about budding romance. And Hannah laughed it off. But heat bloomed in her cheeks. Straight no more. Perhaps. But the shift felt seismic. Ground still settling. That afternoon? Wandering Rose alone. Sarah pinned Hannah against a sun-warmed trellis. Kisses tasting of Merlot and mischief. You're mine today. She growled playfully. Hands roaming under Hannah's shirt. Hannah gasped. Yielding to the press of bodies. The vineyard a private Eden. But as they rejoined the group, flushed and disheveled, doubt crept back. How long could stolen moments sustain before the world demanded definitions? Yosemite greeted them at golden hour. El Capitan looming like a challenge unmet. They claimed a spot in the valley. Tents amid meadows where deer grazed fearless. The evening hike to Yosemite Falls misted their faces. Rainbows arcing in spray. Sarah's hand in Hannah's was slick with water. Grip unyielding as they climbed slick granite. At the base, breathless, Sarah drew her into a crevice behind boulders. The roar drowning softer sounds. Their urgency matched the cascade's force. Clothes damp and discarded in haste. Bodies slick against stone. Hannah clung to Sarah. Nails digging crescents. As pleasure crested like foam. Washing away hesitations and waves. Afterward. Wrapped in towels borrowed from packs. They laughed through shivers. The intimacy forging something unbreakable. Firelight that night painted faces in flickering gold. Marshmallows toasting as tales turned tender. Hannah shared fragments of her Ohio youth. Strict parents and hidden sketchbooks filled with women from novels. Desires sketched in secret. Sarah listened. Chin on knee. Her gaze a bomb. I drew you first. She admitted later. In the tent. Showing a faded phone photo of a portrait from months back. Hannah's throat closed. Fingers tracing the screen. All this time. Sleep came deep. Dreams of waterfalls carrying her fears away. Dawn brought dew-kissed wildflowers. The group scattering for solo explorations. Hannah journaled by a stream. Pen scratching truths long buried. Sarah's approach was silent. Settling beside her with wild strawberries plucked fresh. Eat. She urged. Popping one between Hannah's lips. Sweet as you. The day's rhythm shifted to lazy hikes. Picnics under sequoias where Sarah sketched landscapes with Hannah as muse. Her form captured in swift lines. One afternoon. Atop Glacier Point. Overlooking Half Dome. Sarah proposed a pact. No looking back. Only forward. Hannah agreed. Sealing it with a kiss that tasted of pine and promise. The valley sprawling below like possibilities untold. But fractures appeared subtle. A text from Mark seeking closure. Stirring old guilts. Hannah deleted it unread. But the echo lingered. A reminder of lives half-lived. That evening, as thunder rumbled distant, the group huddled in tents early. Sarah's touch soothed. But Hannah's sighs carried weight. Confessions spilling in the dark. I built walls so high. What if they crumble and I don't know who I am underneath? Sarah's response was fierce. Body covering hers in assertion. Then we rebuild. Together. Their connection deepened. Explorations tender and thorough. Sarah's mouth mapping vulnerabilities. Drawing moans that mingled with rain patter. Climax came shared. A symphony of gasps and grips. Leaving them spent and sated. Souls entwined. Morning mist cloaked the valley as they broke camp. Heading east toward the Sierras. The drive wound through passes. Aspens turning gold. Sarah dozed against Hannah's shoulder. Breath even. Trust absolute. Hannah's heart ached with fullness. Yet fear nibbled edges. Exposure intense had ignited. But daylight demanded reckoning. Mammoth lakes shimmered alpine. Campsites ringed by peaks. They fished in twilight. Lines casting lazy arcs. Sarah's laughter bubbling as trout teased hooks. Dinner smoked over coals. Trout flaky with lemon. Paired with stories of childhood camps where Sarah first kissed a girl under stars. Hannah listened. envy softening to aspiration. Her own tales tentative but growing bolder. Night fell crisp. Tents zipped against chill. Inside, blankets piled high. Sarah's warmth chased cold. Whispers turned to wonders. Fingers interlacing as they spoke of futures. Portland for Sarah's next exhibit. Seattle for Hannah's summer break. Visits planned. Lives converging tentative. But Hannah's voice faltered on logistics. The pull of routine a tether. Sarah sensed it. Pausing mid-caress. Scared. Not of me. Of you. Hannah nodded into her neck. Tears hot. Yeah. Sarah held her through it. Rocking gentle. Until desire reignited. Slow builds to shattering peaks. In release, Hannah found courage. Whispering vows to try. To trust. The following day brought hot springs. Steam rising ethereal. The group soaked in natural pools. Sighs of bliss echoing. Sarah and Hannah shared a secluded basin. Waters lapping intimate. Submerged. Hands roamed unseen. Touches electric under surface. Hannah's head fell back. Eyes on steam-veiled sky. As Sarah's fingers coaxed sighs from deep within. Vulnerability bared in bubbles. Trust solidified in shared secrecy. As they dried on rocks, Sarah draped her in a towel. Eyes soft. You're braver than you know. Hannah believed her. In that moment, pulling her down for kisses that steamed the air. But the group's return shattered solitude. Reminders of external eyes. Dinner debates turned to routes home. Timelines pressing. And Hannah felt the trip's end like a horizon approaching. That night, fire sparks danced as bourbon loosened tongues. Sienna confronted gently, pulling Hannah aside. Saw the way you look at her. Happy for you. But be sure. Hannah's response choked. Assurance fragile. Trying to be. Sienna's hug lingered. Sisterly wisdom imparted. Love doesn't come with maps. Follow your heart anyway. In the tent, revelations fueled passion. Sarah's body a canvas Hannah painted with lips and limbs. They moved with purpose. Rhythms syncing to heartbeats. Climaxes crashing tandem. After. Curled close. Hannah voiced fears. What if home changes us? Sarah's reply firm. Then we change together. Dawn crested snowy peaks. Packing swift amid yawns. The drive south hugged Owen's Valley. Dust devils swirling like doubts. Sarah's hand steady in Hannah's. Playlist shifting to anthems of resolve. Stops blurred. A ghost town picnic where Sarah read aloud from Hannah's favorite poetry. Verses of longing mirrored in their gaze. By Owen's dry lake. Salt flats mirroring sky. They pulled over for photos. Sarah framed Hannah against infinity. Capturing vulnerability in shutter clicks. You're endless. She said. Showing the shot. Hannah saw truth there. Lines of self etched deep. Kissing in the vastness. Wind whipping. Felt like claiming space. Night camped rugged. Tents battered by gusts. Inside. Gales howled. But Sarah's embrace sheltered. Conversations delved deeper. Dreams unpacked. Hannah admitted teaching fears. Burnout looming. Sarah offered sketches of escapes. Joint adventures. Ideas bloomed. Futures sketched tentative. Intimacy followed. Urgent against storm's fury. Bodies grinding in defiance. Hannah led this time. Hand sure. Mouth worshipful. Drawing cries from Sarah that drowned wind. Release bonded them tighter. Sleep claiming entangled limbs. The Sierras faded as they neared Tahoe. Blues deepening to sapphire. Lakeside. They kayaked tandem. Paddles dipping syncopated. Laughter echoed over water. Sarah's splashes playful. Hannah's retaliations fierce. Beaching on a spit. They lunched on sandwiches. Feet dangling in chill. Afternoon brought hikes through aspen groves. Leaves crunching gold. Sarah gathered fallen boughs. Weaving crowns they wore laughing. Crowned queens. She declared. Kissing Hannah's temple. Felt like coronation. Doubts dethroned momentary. Evening bonfire crackled lakeside. Group songs strumming guitars. Hannah sang harmony to Sarah's lead. Voices blending seamless. Later. Under stars reflected on water. They walked shore. Stones skipping. Skips mirrored heart leaps. Each bounce a step toward belief. Tent welcomed with quilts soft. Whispers wove plans. Visits concrete now. Sarah's touch ignited slow. Explorations languid. Building to crescendo soft. Hannah's sighs filled space. Gratitude in every gasp. In after quiet, she murmured, "Thank you for seeing me." Sarah's hold tightened. "Always have." Tahoe's shores receded as they veered toward the desert. The Sierra Nevada giving way to arid expanses that mirrored Hannah's inner aridity cracking under care. The drive stretched long. Radio fading to static. Conversations filling voids with hypotheticals. Sarah's fingers traced lazy circles on Hannah's thigh. A silent promise amid the miles of sagebrush. They detoured through Reno. Neon flickering garish against dusk. The group hit a dive bar for wings and whiskey. Pool cues clacking as bets flew. Sarah challenged Hannah to 8-ball. Leaning close to whisper strategy. Breath hot on ear. Victory came sweet. Sarah's celebratory kiss chased but charged. Drawing whoops from the crowd. Hannah flushed. But owned it. Arm around Sarah's waist possessive. That night, motel rooms substituted tents. Thin walls no barrier to groups' revelry. In their shared space, faded floral bedspread witness. Sarah peeled away layers deliberate. Hannah's protests melted to please. Body arching under skilled hands. Sarah's mouth trailed fire. Eliciting shudders that shook the frame. Climax ripped through Hannah like desert lightning. Leaving her boneless. Sarah's name a litany on lips. Morning brought Bloody Marys on the group's tab. Hangovers nursed with greasy spoons. Packing hasty. They hit 395 South. Owens Valley unfolding stark. Stops at fossil sites unearthed ammonites. Sarah pressing one into Hannah's palm. Ancient desires. She quipped. But eyes held deeper meaning. Hannah pocketed it talisman-like. Thumb stroking ridges. Lone Pine welcomed with movie museum nods to classic westerns. But their story felt more noir. Shadows lengthening. Camped at Alabama hills. Boulders sculpted fantastical. Tents nestled in arches. Evening climb yielded vistas of MT. Whitney. Peaks piercing twilight. Sarah's back against Hannah's front. Arms encircled. They watched sun dip. Colors bleeding sky. Descent brought fire building. Sparks flying as embers caught. Dinner of foil packet meals steamed aromatic. Talks turning to post-trip lives. Hannah voiced tenure worries. Classroom monotony. Sarah countered with exhibit invites. Collaborative dreams. Seeds planted. Watered by shared glances. Night air cooled sharp. Tents zipped snug. Inside. Quilts cocooned. Sarah's explorations turned teasing. Feathers light until Hannah begged. Response fervent. Body slick with effort. Rhythms building to shared peaks. Gasps punctuated quiet. Release a desert bloom sudden. Sleep fragmented by coyote calls. Hannah waking to Sarah's profile moonlit. Fear resurfaced. Home horizons looming. What if distance dilutes? Sarah stirred. Sensing. Well, Bridget. Daily calls. Weekend flights. Commitment voiced. Doubts quieted temporary. Dawn gilded boulders gold. Group scattering for photo ops. Sarah directed shoots. Hannah model reluctant then reveling. Poses intimate. Lunch picnicked in shade. Sandwiches savored slow. Afternoon brought bouldering. Sarah spotting Hannah's climbs. Cheers echoing canyons. One slip sent Hannah tumbling soft into Sarah's catch. Adrenaline spiking. Grounded. Kiss crashed urgent. Hands fisting shirts. Pulled apart by calls. Laughter covered tremors. But bond strengthened in brush with fall. Evening winds whipped. Fire defiant. Stories circled. Vulnerabilities shared. Hannah confessed college crushes enacted. Regrets raw. Sarah's arm tightened. Validation in squeeze. Your time now. She affirmed. Tent sheltered from gusts. Intimacy insulated. Touches turned worshipful. Hannah reciprocating with newfound confidence. Mapping Sarah's responses like lesson plans alive. Moans built layered. Climax tandem. Leaving echoes in ears. Next day traversed Death Valley. Heat mirage shimmering. Convoy crawled cautious. AC blasting. Stops at salt pans crunched underfoot. Vastness humbling. Sarah's hand in Hannah's sweaty. Grip slick but sure. Furnace Creek offered respite. Pool dips cooling fevered skins. Group lounged floaty. Splashes playful. Sarah and Hannah shared lane. Lap sinking. Stolen underwater grazes electric. Towel dried. They napped siesta style. Limbs entangled lazy. Twilight drove to Badwater Basin. Lowest point earth. Walked salt hexagons cracking. Echoes hollow. Sarah knelt. Tracing patterns. Pulling Hannah down for salt-kissed kiss. Tastes mingled bittersweet. Desire rising despite heat. Campton pan shadows. Tense low profile. Fire minimal. Coals glowing. Dinner cold cuts. Chat subdued by exhaustion. Hannah's head on Sarah's lap. Fingers combed through hair soothing. Night stars wheeled overhead. Tense portals to infinity. Inside. Heat trapped humid. Bodies seeking cold in contact. Lovemaking languid. Sweat slick slides building friction slow. Hannah's sighs cooled on Sarah's skin. Release evaporating like morning dew. Morning scorched early. Packing feverish. Drive out climb to Panamint Springs. Views dizzying drop-offs. Breakfast burritos fueled. Coffees iced. Conversations lightened. Trip tales compiling. Trona pinnacles loomed Tufa spires ghostly. Otherworldly. Hiked bases. Echoes bouncing weird. Sarah's photos captured ethereal. Hannah foreground. Expressions softened wonder. Lunch roadside. Trucks rumbling past. Afternoon skirted Mojave. Joshua Tree's sentinel. Sarah's playlist desert rock. Windows down. Hair whipping wild. Barstow break for shakes thick. Booths sticky. Group debriefed halfway humors. Bonds evident. Hannah caught Sarah's eye across table. Wink shared conspiratorial. Evening camped Mojave National Preserve. Dunes rippling. Tent staked sand. Wind hissing. Fire sandburied. Warmth fleeting. Dinner can chili heated quick. Spoons clinking. Talks turned reflective. Trips arc bending endward. Hannah voiced growth. Voice steady. Sarah's pride shone. Hand squeeze affirming. Tent billowed slight. Anchors holding. Intimacy sand-dusted. Touches gritty tender. Explorations innovative. Positions dictated by confines. Pleasure peaking sharp. After. Sand sifted from sheets. Laughter muffled. Sleep sand-scoured dreams. Hannah waking resolute. Dawn dunes pink. Group surfed boards improvised. Tumbles hilarious. Sarah's whoops infectious. Hannah joined. Spills bonding. Drive final leg Joshua Tree. Icons twisting. Parked lots full. Trailheads buzzing. Hike to Keys View. Panoramas sweeping. Sarah's arm around Hannah's waist casual now. Affections normalized group eyes. Picnic spread boulders. Cheeses and fruits. Naps shaded. Dreams overlapping. Evening climb Ryan Mountain. Sunsets blaze. Peak shared silent. Horizons endless. Camped Hidden Valley. Boulders enclosing. Fire crackled legends. Boulderer tales. Hannah contributed shy. Voice gaining. Sarah's gaze encouraged. Love unspoken loud. Night chill descended. Tents layered. Inside. Cocoons warm. Bodies heat sources. Whispers planned futures. Cities bridged. Touches sealed. Slow builds to fervent unions. Climaxes whispered names. Sleep embraced content. Joshua Tree's twisted limbs clawed at the fading light as the group crested the final ridge. The desert sprawling like a canvas half-painted. Hannah's chest tightened with the landscape's raw expanse. Mirroring the openness she teetered on the edge of embracing. Sarah walked beside her. Their steps synced from days of trails. Her presence a steady hum against the wind's low moan. They claimed the last site in Black Rock Campground. Tents rising amid creosote bushes that scratched like old regrets. The fire pit smoked reluctant. But flames caught with coaxing. Casting long shadows that danced across faces etched with tripwire. Dinner was simple. Beans and tortillas warmed on grates. The group's energy mellowed to murmurs of what comes next. Hannah sat close to Sarah. Their knees touching under the guise of shared space. Sienna's glance across the flames held no judgment. Only a nod that spoke volumes. And for once, Hannah met it without flinching. The bourbon bottle made rounds slower now. Toasts to memories forged in rain and rock. But Hannah's sip burned less of escape and more of anticipation. As embers dimmed, the group dispersed to tents. Zippers a chorus of closures. Inside theirs, the air hung thick with the day's dust and unspoken tomorrows. Sarah lit a small lantern. Its glow soft on the canvas walls, illuminating the faint freckles on her shoulders like stars brought low. Hannah reached out, tracing one with a fingertip, the touch igniting a slow smile. "You've changed," Sarah said. Not accusation but observation. Her hand covering Hannah's to still it. "In the best way." Hannah's throat worked. Words tangling. "I feel it. Like I've been holding my breath for years." Sarah drew her closer, lips brushing temple. "Then breathe with me." Their kiss started gentle, a reaffirmation, but deepened with the weight of nearing ends. Clothes slipped away unhurried. Bodies familiar now yet thrilling in rediscovery. Sarah's hands mapped curves with reverence, drawing sighs that filled the tent like incense. Hannah responded in kind, her mouth exploring with a teacher's precision, eliciting gasps that arched Sarah's back. The rhythm built natural, waves cresting in tandem, release a quiet thunder that left them trembling in aftershocks. Lying spent, heads sharing a pillow, Hannah voiced the fear that had shadowed their miles. Home. The word hung heavy. Seattle routines, lesson bells, parent emails. What if it swallows this whole? Sarah propped on elbow, eyes steady in lantern light. Then we fight it. Weekends stolen. Calls like lifelines. Am not letting go. Sleep came in fits. Dreams of deserts blooming improbable flowers. Dawn broke cool, packing methodical amid yawns and coffee steam. The convoy formed last time. Engines rumbling farewell to sands. Hannah drove first shift. Sarah navigating with maps marked in her looping script. Detours for scenic pulls. Through Palm Springs. Palms swayed elegant, a contrast to rugged past. Stop for smoothies chilled. Groups banter light. Hannah caught herself in rear view. Eyes brighter. Lines softened. Sarah's hand on nape massage knots away. Touch casual profound. Anza Borrego bloomed unexpected. Wildflowers rioting post-rain. Hiked slots narrow. Echoes amplifying laughs. Sarah pressed Hannah against slot wall. Kiss shadowed cool. Quick but intense. Hands wandering bold. Pulled apart breathless. Rejoining group flushed excuses. Lunch desert picnic. Blankets spread metal flowers. Talks turned careers. Hannah musing sabbaticals. Sarah pitching joint projects. Ideas sparked. Futures tangible. Afternoon wound coastal. I-5 humming traffic. Stops blurred. Gas station snacks fueling. Sarah's playlist shifted hopeful. Indie tracks of homecomings. Hand in hand over console. Fingers drummed melodies shared. By LA sprawl. Neon beckoned. Detour Venice boardwalk. Group strolling Muscle Beach vibes. Sarah's eyes lit performers. Sketching mental. Hannah watched her. Heart full. Envy turned admiration. Dinner taqueria vibrant. Tacos dripping. Laughter loud. Bonds sealed. Motel night urban. Rooms adjacent. In theirs. City hum backdrop. Intimacy urban edged. Sarah's touches urgent. City lights filtering curtains. Bodies moved syncopated. Peaks sharp as skyline. Morning freeway crawl. San Francisco looming fog. Golden Gate cross triumphant. Horns blaring joy. Haight-Ashbury wandered hippie haunts. Sarah's element. Hannah bought journal leatherbound. Pages for new chapters. Lunch organic cafe. Salads crisp. Talks post-trip. Visits scheduled concrete. Sienna's blessing voiced. Group toast inclusive. Northward coastal. 101 hugging cliffs. Stops lighthouse rugged. Waves crashing. Sarah's photos captured drama. Hannah subject central. Confidence blooming. Evening camped Russian Gulch. Ocean roar lullaby. Tent seaside. Salt air crisp. Fire beach bonfire. Driftwood crackling. Stories wrapped arcs. Growth evident. Hannah shared full. Ohio chains broken. Desires owned. Applause warm. Sarah's pride radiant. Tent welcomed waves symphony. Lovemaking salt tanged. Bodies undulating tidal. Sighs merged roar. Release oceanic. Final dawn packed somber sweet. Convoy splintered gradual. Goodbyes lingering. Sienna's hug fierce. Promises exchanged. Others peeled off. Waves fading. Just them now. Highway North solo. Silence comfortable. Hands linked. Stop sparse. Conversations deep. Hannah admitted straight claim. Shield cracked. Sarah forgave easy. Love unconditional. Seattle neared rain-washed. Space needle-piercing clouds. Home drop-offs tender. Bags unloaded. Sarah's apartment first. Tour intimate. Kitchen kiss led bedroom. Familiarity new. Unpacking settled. Dinner cooked joint. Pasta simple. Table talks futures. Compromises voiced. Bed claimed early. Bodies home. Touches knowing. Pleasure layered memory. Climax soft. Sleep sound. Weeks blurred. Calls daily. Texts threaded. Weekend Portland visit. Sarah's exhibit opening. Hannah flew anxious. Landed embraced. Gallery crowded. Sarah's work vivid. Portrait Hannah's hidden among abstracts. Reveal choked tears. Kiss public unashamed. Return flight's heart-heavy light. Classroom resumed. But lessons infused passion. Metaphors lived. Emails collaborative. Designs for joint book sparked. Months cycled. Visits routine. Ohio call came. Parents probing single dom. Hannah breathed truth partial. Gauge reactions. Support tentative. But door cracked. Thanksgiving Seattle. Sarah's family welcoming. Sienna's table loud love. Toasts inclusive. Bed shared guest. Whispers planning rings eventual. Spring brought road trip reverse. Tents packed nostalgic. Stops echoed. Tense intimate. Desires exposed fully now. Loves affirmed nightly. Summer sabbatical joined. Portland base. Collaborations flourished. Book illustrations born. Evenings walks river. Hands held open. Fall tenure granted. Celebrations champagne. Sarah's proposal subtle. Sketch ring design. Hannah's yes tear streaked. Embrace eternal. Years layered. Lives woven seamless. Hannah's classes queer lit. Students inspired. Sarah's exhibits traveled. Hannah muse constant. Ages crept gentle. Lines etched shared. Tense occasional. Memories camped. Desires endured. Hidden no more. Blooming human deep. In quiet evenings. Hands laced. They reflected. Straight claim faded footnote. Desire truth core. Love humanistic. Flawed perfect. Echoing tense nights long past.